Hello, welcome to today's kind of not really a Codex review, but more of another how does the Codex impact my army kind of video. So I don't know what you guys, if you guys run Dark Eldar at all, or what, the way you've built your collection in the past. The Drukhari Codex may have impacted your collection, or the way you build your armies. So I want to take a look at what has happened with the Codex and how it affected my army. Because there's a lot of changes in this Codex from previous editions, and I kind of think they're all good, but they do have an impact. So let's kind of walk through it. Nothing, we're not going to go through every little detail, just the things that really stand out. So what I want to do is start with something that they've done is they've really focused on the idea that the Cabals and the witch cults and the covens are completely separate entities within and organizations within the actual society, and as a result they've created a new keyword, kind of like they did with the Space Marine chapters and Tau Septs and things. They took it to kind of another level, which is kind of neat. So now they've got Cabal, if you can, there you go, the Cabal keyword under the Archon, whereas Lilith has Cult of Strife, and regular Succubus just has Witch Cult. Okay, so the Homunculus has Homunculus Coven. And what they've done is they've thrown three troop choices. The Cabinet Warriors have Cabal, Witches have Witch Cult, and of course Racks have Homunculus Covens. The reason they did that is that you can run an entire Witch Cult army, or an entire Cabal army, or an entire Coven army, just by the way you create the list. And it's very, very thematic, along with the the lore, which is one. I think the Drukhari Codex is the best codex to date, in my opinion, of taking the lore and massaging it into the rules. This does a much better job than even the Tower Necron codexes do. Alright, so what's interesting is what they did with the various units in the other choices. So in the elite section, of course they dropped the Court of the Archon from HQ to elite, so that you don't have that cheap HQ choice like you did in the previous editions. And personally I think that's a good thing, because I don't read anywhere in the lore where any of the court members actually led any of the raids. So I think that's a good change. Incubi don't have one of those keywords. So just like in the lore, Incubi were hired by whomever. Mandrakes, same thing, no keyword there, so they were hired by any of the three. Very, very flavorful. When we get to the Beastmaster, now they've split things up. I like kind of the way they did this. They put the Beastmaster on a page right with the three beasts in the overleaf, so it's easy to see. But Beastmaster's elite, whereas his three beast sections are fast attack. Much like some of the other codexes have done with like the Runtard or the Shaper, the Crude Shaper. They belong in kind of their separate elite status, and they interact with other troops. But what's neat is now you can have any mix of these three other separate units. You don't no longer have a combined unit, which is nice, because you can have just a Claude Fiend unit, up to 6 I think it is total, yeah. And that's a pretty intense close combat build. So Grotesques, they have the Coven, which is kind of goes just along with the Racks. It just makes a lot of sense in the elite section. So here you'll notice the Beastmaster, it's Witch Cult. Now that's different than before. Where it really didn't matter. Grotesque, everyone knew those were part of the Homunculus Coven, so that makes sense. You expected that, but the Beastmaster, in the lore, they were used by the witches, the ones to take care of all the arena animals and beasts, right? Well, now it's official, they're a Witch Cult unit. That actually had an impact on my list building and army lore, so we'll cover that in a little bit. But notice the actual beasts themselves, they don't have any of those keywords. So these can be included in any of the three without impact. Reavers and Hellions, now those are witch cult units, which is just like the lore, but again, not like previous lists, but list builds. Scourges are allies, or not allies, sorry, mercenaries, because they don't have a keyword, just like you'd expect in the lore. And those are the big changes. What's interesting, though, a big change here is the Ravager. That is only Cabal. Now, doesn't mean you can't take it with the other two, but there's implications if you do, and that's a big deal. Whereas the Raider and Venom can be either of the three. The Ravager can only be Cabal. So we'll talk about that in a second. Razorwing Jet Fighter and Void Raven Bomber, Cabal or Witch Cult only. And that matters not to me personally, but because I don't have these models yet, but to anyone who had a Coven heavy list, they really aren't going to benefit from these two units unless they take three, and I'll explain that the implications in a bit. Because here's the cool part of it. Now, the Drukhari have special rules that really, really line up with their lore very, very well, and completely change the way you build the army, which I am really a fan of. Even though I'm using them to represent my Exodites, it really matches well. So, the very first thing is that you have the raiding force rule. Now this is cool because what it helps you do is it leans you toward building only patrol detachments, which don't normally get you command points. Instead of building a detachment like a brigade or battalion detachment to get those extra command points, you are encouraged here to build patrol detachments instead, because if you have a battle-forged army that includes at least 3 Drukhari patrol detachments, you get 4 command points. If you have 6 or more, you get 8 command points. That's huge. And patrol detachments are cheap. 1 HQ and 1 troop. So you're going to take your Cabalite warriors or your witches or your Racks anyway. So you can actually expand the number of patrol detachments and get more command points than you could if you just bought like a brigade detachment. Brigade, yeah, that's right. No, there's battalion detachment. So anyway, so that's a big change there. And in fact, it's such a big change that it forced me to do some really sudden modeling. I went into my bits box right away, and I pulled together 4 succubus and 3 Cabalites from just the various bits that I happen to have, so that I could get more combat patrol detachments. As in my army right now, I have a grand total of Lilith, a succubus, and a Archon. That's not going to be enough, especially since I have really one witch unit, effectively one witch unit. So I needed more Archons for sure, and since I had plenty of bodies from the passengers that come on Raiders and Venoms, I was able to make the 3 Archons I needed and 4 succubus that I wanted, and I got a couple different variations in equipment that they have. So that's the biggest change already. That's how it's influenced my army. I now have 7 more HQs that I have to complete so that I can actually really feel the strong force. Now I've also need to spend more time trying to find my equivalent of the homunculi, which are, for mine, I call shapers or dukes, and they are the ones that are going to be running my Coven side, which is really neat. But because why that's important is the next rules, which is a Drukhari obsession. I know you guys have heard about that. Every Cabal, Witch Cult, or Homunculi Coven detachment can get one of these. Now, this is where the implications of having those, Ravagers can only be Cabal, because you can't put a Ravager in a Witch Cult or Coven unit at all, and detachment, and have that detachment take advantage of these obsessions. You have to put Ravagers in their own heavy support detachment. What are those called? Spearhead now, I think. So that's some real big changes. So you're going to be making with this a lot of small detachments to build your force. So I'm playing around with that, which again means I need more Archons and whatnot. It's going to be great. I'm kind of looking forward to this. Alright then, one of the best changes, I'm sure you guys have heard about the Drukhari obsessions, but those I think is the best change to the Codex and the whole Dark Eldar rule set. And it really has the biggest impact on the way you build an army and the way my lore actually presents itself on the table. It's really fantastic. Unfortunately, it also changed the way I have to build, change the way I had to do some of the lore, or had to rewrite some of it in my own Exodite communities. So let's take a look at the rule itself, because the obsessions only apply if your entire detachment has the key words of Cabal or Witch Cult or Homunculus Coven. Now, stuff like Incubi, Beastmasters, Beasts, Incubi, Mandrakes, and Scourges, those don't have those words, but they don't impact this, the ability for the rest of the units to get this ability, this obsession. So, as long as you build your entire Witch Cult detachment with only Witch Cult units, meaning no Ravagers in there, or no Homunculus, no Talos, no Kronos, no Homunculus units in there, you can take a Witch Cult obsession. If you got a Cabal detachment with no Witch Cult and no Homunculus in there, Homunculus Covens, you can take Cabal obsessions, and there's one for Covens as well. And this is cool, because I wrote my independent clans. I've got 5 of them. I kind of listed 4 of them are Cabals, the equivalent of Cabals, if you were to convert it to what we're dealing with in this new edition. And one would be more along the lines of Witch Cults, because one is close combat oriented, and the others are more shooty. Okay, and I didn't have one for Covens. I mean, the Homunculus was woven throughout. In fact, that's where the biggest change happens for me. So let's take a look at the obsessions that I get to choose from, and then explain kind of why. Now here's why it's going to change and how it's going to change the way I build my list. So for the Cabal obsessions, though there's hundreds of Cabals, and it's many actually mentioned in the lore. There's only 4 that have a list or a power. One, it allows them to increase the turn value. So it's like, instead on turn 1 they treat it as turn 2 for purposes of power for pain. So you get your power from pain abilities more quickly. That's a big deal. So that's the Blackheart one. There's Flayed Skulls have one that allow all your fly units. So that would be your dedicated transports and your Ravagers would be able to, or to be honest, also your flyers. I don't have flyers, so I'm not considering those, but they get additional 3-inch to their move, which is actually pretty good. They also, enemy units don't receive cover benefits by units that have the fly capability, so that's pretty good. And the cool thing is, any units that embarked on a transport that can fly, so your Raiders and Venoms, those get to reroll hits of 1 when they're firing with rapid fire weapons, and they don't. The opponent doesn't get cover bonuses against their shots. So that's pretty good. Poison Tongue, they basically let you reroll 1 when you're trying to wound for melee weapons. Now that's not really going to do much for me because my Cabals don't usually do close combat stuff. I have all my close combat stuff outside. That's just the way mine is. It's all in a different independent clan. Now the last one, Obsidian Rose, I think is the one I'm going to use most. Basically, the range characteristic of all my assault, rapid fire, and heavy weapons, basically that's all the ranged weapons, is increased by 6. So now my splinter rifles are basically poison pulse rifles for like Tau. They have a 30-inch range. My Dark Lances and Disintegrator Cannons have a 42-inch range. That's pretty good. So that's the one I'll be taking most of the time. I can see the Bloodsong clan probably taking the Power from Pain one. I really can't see. Yeah, I guess I should. There is one that would I'd be able to use this one for, and the Flayed Skulls. I forgot the Fire Song clan. I think it is. That one is a very, very small clan in my lore, the smallest actually of all of them, and they're the ones actually who are the makers and manufacturers of all the vehicles. So that they don't usually go to war themselves, but their vehicles do. They do have their own leaders and their own Glade Guards, so I can build a couple detachments that would be considered flayed skulls. So I could do that. So I could see 3 of them being used just in my lore, and I really like that because that adds the flavor of my Exodites into my gaming, which I didn't have before. I'm really excited about that. All right, now as far as the Witch Cult obsessions, there are 3 of them only. Cult of Strife, Cursed Blade, and Red Grief. Really quick, the Cult of Strife, which is the one that Lilith is part of. So obviously I'm going to have to use that occasionally. That's basically +1 attack when they charge or are charged or to do the heroic adventure. That's kind of useful. The more shots you put down, the more hits you make, the more saves are forced, and the more deaths are likely. Then there's the Cult of the Cursed Blade. This one increases your strength characteristic by 1, which is actually pretty good. And the other thing is really nice is if you fail a morale test, you only lose 1 model max, never more. That's really good. Don't know if I'll use that one though. But this one, Cult of Red Grief, units with this obsession can charge in the same turn in which they advanced. In addition, you can re-roll failed charge rolls. So I'm really torn between these two. Because I have Lilith, I'll be using Cult of Strife. Probably a lot. But being able to use the charge and advance, I could see this being playing off. So for my Dark Knives clan, independent clan, which is basically all my close combat-y stuff, all my witches are in that one, I'll probably be using Cult of Strife. I think I can write the lore in such that certain families within the clan, certain houses within the clan, maybe I'll be able to do the faster runs and such. And actually, if I put the witches in this one, most of the witches in this one, and put like my Hellions, which would be my Wild Riders, they're the guys on. If you go back to my armor review video, you'll see my Hellions are actually archers on the back of deer. Okay, that unit or that detachment that had those in it, I think that would be a very good one to use with this Cult of the Red Grief. Basically being able to advance and charge, that could make that really painful. Or even ones with the Reavers in it, that could be really good. Can you imagine a 28-inch run? Put combat drugs on them, 28-inch advance, and then charge. You're talking a first turn charge with a mess of jetbikes. Oh, that could be painful. So yeah, so these would be the 2 I'll use. We'll have to see how I play. I'm going to have to rewrite the storylines a little bit to kind of explain the different tactical favorites. And among those covens, that's where I really get to. My imagination gets to go wild because I haven't really developed a lot of the stories around my shapers. These are all, and I got the idea. If you might remember from a previous video, the shapers are. I got those from the ElfQuest video, or sorry, ElfQuest graphic novel series. In there was a couple characters that were able to shapeshift. One who actually was able to mold bodies, and so instead of doing surgical enhancement, I figured we'll do shape changers. So that's how the scourges, my scourges, are created. They're actually given wings by these shapers. Well, now I can actually write up my shapers a little differently because my shapers in my lore are kind of hermetic in a way. They keep to themselves. They're extremely wise in the eyes of the Exodite society, but they keep to themselves. And so I can see each different shaper being a different personality. And so I can actually use all 3. Let's take a look at what we can look here. We got the model has the obsession. Invulnerable saves conferred by the insensible to pain is increased to 4+. So now my Talos, Chronos kind of stuff gets 4 up in invuln. This one, models must subtract 1 from their leadership for each unit with this obsession within 6 inches. So if I have 3 rack units within 6 inches of an enemy unit, they're -3. That could be kind of cool. I could definitely Yeah, let's see about that one. Then the Covenant of 12. Here you get to improve the armor penetration characteristics of all your melee weapons by 1. That's always a good thing. So I can see this one being used, the invuln save being used a lot. But I can really find a storyline for each one, depending upon which shaper is being represented on the table. So now I'm going to have to come up with some shaper models. I've got 1 or 2 that I've been kind of working on, but haven't really had much of a desire to finish them. Now I really want to, because I'll be able to apply this to the entire detachment they're in. Now, stratagems, there's been reviews about all the different stratagems, and I can tell you that this gives you so many options. It is remarkable. And so I don't think these themselves have influenced the way, my army as a whole. I know I've got favorites, just like everyone's going to have favorites that match up with their play style. What's really interesting is looking back at those Cabals and the cults. If I have a Cult of Strife, I can use basically the stratagem 3 points though. But again, when you get 8 for having 6 patrol detachments, you got some room to spare. Anytime you destroy an enemy unit, you basically get either a chance to attack again or shoot again. So Cult of Strife with Lilith's group, I can definitely use that one. Red Grief over here, I could just before I consolidate, I can, instead of moving toward the nearest enemy unit, consolidate up to 6 inches toward the nearest transport. And if they all end up within 3 inches, I can get back in. Now, I could have used that in a recent battle. That would have been great. But I think that actually might be a fun one to play with. Now, with the Obsidian Rose one, here, essentially, if I fail a morale test, I get to select the models that flee, but they get to shoot or make a close combat attack. And if an enemy unit model is destroyed, then I don't lose any models at all. So that's a way to keep some of my units alive longer. That I could definitely see myself using more often than not. So as I play through, and now one of the biggest changes, this actually changed up one of the ways that I modeled one of my succubus. Back in the earlier edition, you were able to take the Armor of Misery. It wasn't restricted to just the Archon like it is now. So now these artifacts of cruelty are restricted. And this one doesn't quite... I have a model now with Cabalite type armor with the glaive and the pistol. I really can't use that now. So I can use it as a regular succubus, but I have to paint it just a little bit differently to make it look a little less like armor and more just like extravagant clothing. So, but looking at all these now artifacts, there's a lot of potential, and one that I'm keen to get is this Prophet of Flesh only Vexter Mask. Essentially, that prevents enemies from overwatching, and I can pick one unit that on the enemy's side within 6 inches that cannot fight until the very end of the turn, or end of the phase. So I can basically force a unit to not fight back until I've attacked it with absolutely everything I've got. So that is what I'm looking forward to. When I look back on this is the Prophet of Flesh one. That one is the one that I'm going to use most often anyway, because it's the one that gives me the insensible to pain save of 4+. So that's a very good match for me storyline wise. So I'm really pleased about that. So when you look at how this affects me, it's really along the storyline and the way I build my armies. So I had to build all those, a whole bunch of models. So in order to do all those combat patrols, patrol detachments, I had to come up with a bunch of succubus, and I figured I'd vary up their weapons. Impaler and arc. I have the Impaler in the. I have the Impaler and the Archite Glaive. Here's the Archite Glaive in a agonizer, and here's one with a splinter pistol. So these, they're not done. They're nowhere near done. But I had to put those together so I could have some other witch options. I'm definitely going to need to get more witches now. And I had to make some more of those Archons. And again, mixed it up a bit. Now, they don't have a whole lot of weapon options. Never really have. And don't have a lot of artifact options. Except the artifacts of cruelty, except one of the Armor of Misery, which is actually the Obsidian Rose Cabal special one. So I get to use that on the existing, which is what my existing Archons are modeled with. But I can use multiples of these. So now, combat patrol, or patrol detachments, again, if I get 6 in there, so that's 6 of these guys. So I've got 4 Archons and Lilith and another Succubus. So yeah, there's 6 total. And then if I need to, I can add another couple or 3, because I can get my Fire Wings in there with my all the Ravagers in one group by adding a single Archon model. That would allow me to do that. Now I can get all my, that's one more command point. If I do my Reaver and Hellions and throw Scourges all in there and throw another Succubus in there, then I've got another command point with all those fast attack. Or I could even just make her with a Beastmaster. Well, I don't have a Beastmaster on here, but I do have to come up with a Beastmaster model now, and I'll show you what one of those is going to be in a pretty different video. But then I can have 3 different fast attack choices in the 3 different units for a Vanguard detachment. Sorry, Vanguard? No, Outrider detachment, because they're all fast attack. So Beastmaster plus a Succubus plus the 3, that gives me another command point. So I can really rack up the command points by having a lot of small units on the table in small detachments. So this really gives me a lot of opportunity to build lists. And one of the things that I'm probably going to end up doing is creating a bunch of different detachments of all types, just kind of pre-pointed out, almost put them on like an index card, and then just draw out the card that I want to add up to the points or power levels I need for a given game. That could be a lot of fun. So yeah, there's going to be some really neat changes to the way I behave on this. And I'm actually now, I think this is my favorite Codex, my favorite army right now, because it allows me to use my Exite lore, my Exite flavor with this Codex on the tabletop, and it's just a blast. I am so excited about it. I'm still going to be playing my Tau, and I'm still going to be playing all the other armies I've got. Still building my Necron army, but I think this is my favorite, my go-to army now, just for flavor and narrative. I'm so excited about it. So, alright, well, I hope you guys got something from this. Please share, like, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Alright, bye-bye.